It's official, I'm an orphan. After a whole year of anticipatory grief, of crying, and of watching my mom fight to stay alive in and out of the hospital, she died. I got the call that she had taken her last breath as I was about to have my bath and step out to hang out with some friends. I had eaten rice and joked earlier that day with my partner that I had made my mom's signature pepper stew. I cried in the bathroom. I let the shower run through my head. I wept with relief. I said to myself, what I had dreaded for the longest has finally happened. My life is about to change. A week before her passing on Sunday, January 21, 2024, I was eating at a restaurant with my partner when I got a group call from my siblings to discuss how we would raise a new sum of money. It was on that call while in public that I learned that I am the major reason my mom is fighting to stay alive. My sisters, one who was with her and the other a nurse who was outside the country, coordinating everything related to her health care, told me that my name, Ope, is what they've been using to tap her to consciousness. They said that the mention of my name was the only call she'd been responding to since she was placed on life support. As we agreed to make a transfer and move her to the ICU, medical officers there in the ward began calling her Iya Ope to confirm if she's alive. They kept saying, Ope is here, and it broke me. Tears became difficult to hold in public. So I left our table and went to clean and wipe my face in the restroom. I love my mom, and she never failed to declare those words to me. I love you, baby, Okomi, meaning my husband, were ways she would praise and make me feel loved. It's also understandable why she cared about me that much. She gave birth to me in her early 40s when some women are predicted to enter menopause. Years before my birth or meeting my biological father, she had lost her husband. My father also lost his wife. Both heard of the news, and my father made an attempt at friendship. He visited her store at the main market in Ekiti, and eventually, they both became lovers. Two grieving lovers came together to have me, and my mom was forced to leave the relationship after facing disrespect from my father and some children from his first wife. I usually avoid reading this essay, but let me think that part again. Two grieving lovers came together to have me, and my mom was forced to leave the relationship after facing disrespect from my father and some children from his first wife, who thought my mother had no place in their home. She was stubborn, not the kind of woman you can humble or make to follow a patriarchal dictatorship. She was a woman of her own. They went separate ways when I was about 2 years old, nearly 3. My mom went back to stay at her late husband's house, a man who, even after his death, went on to have more impact on my life than my biological father. My mom eventually fought for my custody in a popular local court case in Ekiti and won. She won after providing documented evidence that I was being both verbally and physically abused by my paternal siblings, all of whom were far older than me. Despite being young at the time, I can still remember several instances. According to her, she wanted to raise me well to the point that I am not consumed with fear. Iyaokwe swore by her life that she would hold me to a place where I would not suffer or have to rely on any of my siblings for survival. I am the only child between my parents. I lost my dad in 2015. He died at age 74. My mom believed that that was a fabricated age based on his friendship group in his village, and he should have been older. I am the 10th of 12 children from my father. I am the last of 5 children from my mother. Her acknowledgement and teaching of how I have to learn to survive this world by myself were defensible. She would ring it to my ears every time that all I have is love and friendship, and only the works of my hands couldn't deceive me. I had to make a living for myself and be my own person. Both my parents talk about their death a lot. In fact, my mom made hers easy for me. She specified everything intimate she wanted for her burial and where she would love to be buried, down to her outfit. It was the only reason she was buried the Saturday following the Sunday she passed. I'm also grateful she made it clear to my maternal siblings that she wanted to be buried where I could access her grave. I have now lost my most loved and only living parent. What an irony it is to be an orphan as an adult. But my parents knew somehow they wouldn't be there for the majority of my life. They communicated it. I have always been prepared for moments like this, and my relationship with death and grief is a familiar one. But does one really ever get prepared enough? These are my notes and attempt at documenting this grief. On January 2022, I wrote, "Of all my first love's lessons, bravery will hold me. Amidst this ache, her lessons whisper, be brave, my love, be brave." In the afternoon, I wrote, "I will grieve this time like a baby. It will grow, and maybe it will die again. But I know it will continue to love. It will continue to be brave." January 23, I wrote in the morning when I woke up, "To know grief intimately is to understand the weight of absence. I wonder what it's like to not learn that although your birth was cradled with love, it was also formed by grief from both parents. Not only were you raised to understand how to love, but you were raised to navigate life alone. I wonder what it's like when your parents don't prepare you for their death. To not have given you predictions of all that would be left of your familiar bond. And for you to understand very early that you have to create the life you badly need to survive their absence. My first love saw me land that place of safety. And I now have to roll out all the maps caved into my soul, the ones etched by absences and self-made anchors. There is a bittersweet joy in navigating alone, a fierce independence that both terrifies and empowers." And then in the evening, I wrote, "When someone you love is gone, and well-meaning voices murmur or text, I hope you're surrounded by all the love you need in these trying times. It feels like the most powerful wish imaginable, to feel their genuine love, their assurance bouncing off the hollow echo of your grief like a pebble against the mountain. It's a wish that cuts both ways, comforting because it acknowledges the chasms you've fallen into, the immensity of the love lost, the raw need for support, and then agonizing because it starkly illuminates the absence of that very love." Agonizing because it starkly illuminates the absence of that very love, the deafening silence where your loved one's voice once was. You appreciate the sentiment, the yearning they express to mend your fractured world. You manage a smile when they ask, "How can I support you right now?" You know the truth stings. No amount of external affection can fill the gaping hole carved by this absence. But perhaps that's not the point. Perhaps the power lies in the promise to erase your pain. Perhaps the power lies not in the promise to erase your pain or fill a void, but in the quiet understanding that you have to face this alone. Their love becomes a boy, bobbing in the tumultuous waves of your emotions, offering a sliver of hope to grasp onto. In these darkest nights, starlight pierces through, and you see it as a confirmation of the enduring connection that transcends loss. So you hold on to their words, not as cure, but as comfort. You let their love be a gentle current guiding you, not over, but alongside the grief. And for this, you are profoundly grateful. I am. January 24, I wrote, made my mom's signature pepper stew the day she died. I had just finished my second serving of the rice when I got the news. Something turned inside me. Relief, I continued to tell myself after a whole year of anticipatory grief and watching her fight to stay alive. But it festers into anger sometimes. This grief is raw and searing. It will burn anyone who mistakes my smile for acceptance and tries me. Do not mistake my sunshine for surrender. I had this stew today, and I've never been sure of anything that will stay with me till I vanish. I will continue to make it just exactly as I've been taught. January 25th rather. It's quite long. Be brave, everyone. Grief blurs memory. It manifests scarily. It clocks me in forgetting. I forget food is on fire till everywhere is smoky. Hearing one out of 1,000 words from people, and sometimes not knowing where I am. It's like my word is fading on the edges, but I'm breathing. I still hear the smoke alarm of December 2022. Today, it took a call from my sister for me not to have my apartment razed down. January 26, I wrote, it's so hard to believe it's my mom they are carrying around in a casket and dancing. I anticipated her death, but I never thought about why people would be happy having her lifeless body around. January 27, burial day, couldn't write anything. The next day after burial, I wrote, that was January 28. I know it's out of care, but saying you're sorry about my loss does not help me. First, I would have to ask, why are you sorry? Especially when I've not told you about my mom before. I've not told you about my mom before, and you haven't met her. Really not a fan of condolences, but to be appreciated to have my pain shared without the word sorry. Don't be sorry for me. I'm not sorry for myself. I'm honored and grateful. My loss is not the kind you wet with pity. It's not a love that dies. It stays with me. January 30, I wrote, perhaps this is not what it feels. Perhaps this is what it feels like. Dropped from heaven with no one who bet you near. No face to blame for granting existence. No one to point a finger at for ownership. Adrift in a sea of possibility, untethered to no particular destination. You are both the author and the protagonist of your own story, free to write your own ending. Then for everyone, I wrote, I think about courage a lot lately. I do think I'm courageous, but courage has levels. And I've realized there is a whole spectrum of courage, from the quiet bravery of standing up for your beliefs in a small group to to the heart-pounding heroisms of facing physical danger, every act takes a different kind of strength. I've also seen it firsthand in the actions of others, like my former colleague who always spoke out against injustice and discrimination, even though they knew it could be unpopular. Or like my mom, who had to raise her children all by herself after losing her husband to death. And even me, who had to tell my father he was shitty in a letter disowning him at 13. I also think of this act of courage as a process. You grow into being your own person eventually. February 2, I wrote, in the morning, since burying my mother on Saturday, I've had to spend time looking at pictures and everything that represented innocent me, like my baby socks, which I have here, surrounding myself with reminders of a simpler time. My greatest fear was not achieving anything for myself, especially knowing my mom wouldn't be with me like she was with my much older siblings. It was a constant fear. Haven't cried since I sobbed with relief after I got the news. A whole year watching her try to stay alive, and days of knowing it's my name they are using to tap her to consciousness. But living does not look scary anymore, and I'm grateful for the woman who taught me about the things that matter in this world. I now need a new fear. I know it won't come rushing in, but my fear won't be about achievement anymore, but about stagnancy, about not honoring her lessons as I navigate this uncharted part of being motherless. If my world crumbles again, who would I run to? February 5, I wrote, death has become so familiar, and my response to people passing away isn't always sadness. I find myself often feeling gratitude, particularly for those who die holding onto a cause. Even more deep-seated gratitude for those who went all in on what they loved till the end, leaving us with a legacy not marked by regret. The absence they leave behind weighs on me, especially for their loved ones. Yet, I can't help but envy their newfound peace. I do know what I feel most though, is unsettling jealousy that they get to experience stillness away from this world of unceasing commotion. It faint envy from within me. I hear the voices, sometimes loud, sometimes whispers, all saying the same thing. Finally, oh finally, they've rested. They ran a good race. With grief being a constant theme in my life, I remind myself with words I offer others. Love knows how not to die. We can make our impact, and the chance for us left in the world to create a meaningful life remains. This work of the living, the beauty of life we crave, is still ours to embrace. Yes, we lean into the depth of their love, but also into the depth of our resilience. Will we always have to learn to find strength that bind us beyond the loss we carry? It will take patience, and we will apply grace put onto ourselves and to the world that spins on without them. At the time I wrote, I do hope we all finally find a point to continue living and do, and in fullness. Learned recently to continue allowing myself to grieve as much as I can, because to avoid grief is to avoid love. From the Netflix movie Good Grief, as it turns out, to avoid sadness is also to avoid love. That hindsight is a discomfort that you will forever mistake for indigestion. As we continue to gather support for my mom to heal at the ICU while hoping she wouldn't die, my siblings and I sent voice notes telling her how much we love her and the things we want her to experience with us. I sent mine and wrote in my notes, "You should be very proud. You were the first person to show me how to tell the world to burn if it needs to create a life I want, to master starting over, to scream truth until it deafens silence. I carry your touch, brighter than any fear. I will continue to dance, free and untamed.